Welcome to Deep Things of God, friends. I'm Alex, and today we're exploring one of history's strangest victories, the fall of Jericho. Joining me are Stanford, Maria, and Kim. Maria, give us the big picture context.
Jericho was a formidable Bronze Age stronghold with towering walls that symbolized security for its people. After the Israelites' long journey, Joshua leads them to this gateway city. What happens next defies every military textbook.
It's a masterclass in trust over tactics. Sam. And a story that ripples through families and communities, showing how one act of courage can change generations.
Let's retell it freshly. Joshua, the new leader, sends 2 spies into Jericho. They find shelter with Rahab, a woman whose house was built into the city wall. She had heard tales of a powerful God who rescued people from oppression and parted waters. Despite the risks, she hides the spies and secures a promise. Her family will be spared if she hangs a scarlet cord from her window. Rahab's choice is so human. She's an insider who becomes an ally, risking everything because she senses a greater power at work. In ancient cultures, hospitality and bold decisions like hers often turn the tide in community stories. The city was locked down tight. Double walls, 1 stone base and mud brick above. Excavations reveal collapsed debris layers right at the base and evidence of a swift event, with grain stores still full, pointing to a short confrontation soon after harvest. This aligns with the time frame of regional conflicts in the ancient Near East. Then comes the divine strategy. For 6 days, the people march around the city once daily in silence, priests carrying the sacred ark and sounding trumpets. On the 7th day, 7 circuits, a long blast, and a unified shout. The walls crumble flat. The people enter, but Rahab's house stands intact. Her family is rescued, the city is overcome and burned, with valuables set apart, fulfilling the plan through obedience rather than force.
The defenders must have gone from mockery to dread as this silent procession continued. No ladders, no rams, just faithful steps.
I love how it builds tension and unity. It's like a community ritual that prepares the heart before the breakthrough.
Contextually, this fits late Bronze Age patterns. Other cities in Canaan and beyond faced sudden destructions. Think of layers from earthquakes, invasions, or collapses seen in sites across Mesopotamia or Anatolia. For Jericho specifics, walls falling outward, inward, in a heap, unlooted food, intentional burning, stand out and match the account remarkably. Dating discussions place it potentially around the 15th, 14th century BCE.
It echoes earlier miracles like the sea crossing, God using natural forces or timing in response to faithfulness. Culturally, many ancient epics feature divine intervention in sieges, from Mesopotamian legends to later tales. Here, though, it's not about heroic warriors, but ordinary people walking in step with a promise.
Before the walls ever came down, there was another important story unfolding: Joshua himself. Moses had died, and now the responsibility of leading an entire nation rested on Joshua's shoulders. Imagine inheriting leadership after one of history's greatest leaders.
Historically, leadership transitions were often dangerous. Many ancient kingdoms fell into chaos when a ruler died. But Israel's transition was remarkably stable because Joshua had spent years learning under Moses. Leadership wasn't suddenly handed to him. It had been cultivated over decades.
That's encouraging. God rarely calls people without preparing them first. Joshua had been faithful in small responsibilities long before leading the nation into Canaan. Sometimes we wonder why we're waiting, but God is often using the waiting season as training. And think about the people. Many of them had never fought a battle like this. Most of the older generation who left Egypt had already died in the wilderness. This younger generation had heard stories about miracles, but now they would experience one themselves.
That's such a powerful reminder that every generation eventually has to discover God personally. We can't simply live on someone else's testimony. One detail that fascinates many readers is the repeated number 7. 7 days, 7 priests, 7 trumpets, and 7 trips around the city on the final day. Was that accidental?
Not at all. Throughout the ancient Near East, and especially in Scripture, the number 7 often symbolized completeness or divine perfection. It's woven throughout biblical history, beginning with the 7 days of creation.
Spiritually, it's as though God was saying, "This victory will be complete because it comes from me." Every lap around Jericho reminded Israel that success wasn't earned by military strength, but by trusting God's complete plan. I also love the emotional side of it. Imagine walking around those walls every day while the people inside laughed or mocked you. It took humility. Sometimes obedience looks foolish before it looks victorious.
Let's return to Rahab for a moment because her story doesn't end at Jericho.
Exactly. She becomes one of the Bible's greatest examples of redemption. She wasn't remembered only for her past, she became known for her faith. Later scriptures celebrate Rahab as someone whose faith was proven through action. She didn't simply believe something in her heart, she acted on that belief, even when it involved enormous personal risk. Genealogically, Rahab eventually became part of Israel and entered the family line leading to King David and ultimately to Jesus. That would have been astonishing in the ancient world. Someone once considered an outsider became part of God's unfolding redemption story.
That's one of the Bible's most beautiful themes. God has always been interested in restoration more than reputation. No past is too broken for him to rewrite, which means listeners who feel disqualified should pay attention. Rahab reminds us that our future with God isn't determined by our worst chapter.
Something else often overlooked is the silence during those marches. The people weren't shouting every day. Silence can be incredibly difficult. We usually want immediate answers, immediate victories, immediate explanations. But God often develops our character during quiet seasons.
Militarily, silence was unusual. Ancient armies would normally intimidate enemies with loud battle cries. Israel did the opposite. Their restraint emphasized discipline and a complete confidence in God's command. It also created unity. Imagine thousands of people resisting the urge to complain, argue, or panic. Everyone was moving together toward the same goal. Sometimes our greatest spiritual battles aren't against circumstances. They're against impatience, fear, and doubt. The Israelites had to conquer those before they ever entered Jericho.
After the victory, Joshua declared that Jericho should not be rebuilt. Why was that so significant?
In the ancient world, conquered cities were often rebuilt quickly for military or economic reasons. Joshua's declaration marked Jericho as a memorial, a reminder that this victory belonged to God alone. Spiritually, it's a warning against returning to what God has already delivered us from. We shouldn't rebuild the habits, fears, or sins that God has torn down.
Every person has a Jericho they've overcome. Maybe it's bitterness, addiction, unhealthy relationships, or fear. The challenge isn't just winning the battle, it's refusing to rebuild what once held us captive.
How does this speak to us now?
It challenges us when facing Jericho walls, seemingly impossible obstacles like career dead ends, relational rifts, or mental health battles. The call is to consistent, obedient steps even when silent, and the outcome is unclear. Trust the process. The shout of breakthrough comes in God's timing.
Relationally, Rahab shows redemption and inclusion. An outsider with a past becomes woven into a bigger family story. Her line leads through generations to significant figures. Today, it encourages us to value unexpected people in our communities, to offer safety and see potential beyond labels. Think family reconciliations or welcoming newcomers.
Historically informed, it highlights persistence over brute force. Modern parallels exist in non-violent movements. Marches for rights where steady presence and moral clarity shifted entrenched systems. Archaeologically grounded faith can deepen appreciation rather than diminish wonder.
Jericho reminds us that faith, patience, and unity can topple what seems unbreakable. Thanks, Stanford, Maria, and Kim. Listeners, what's your seventh day moment? Share, comment, like, and subscribe for more deep things of God. Until next time, keep marching. Talk soon.